Hi everybody, this is Megan at Bio Lounge. Last week, a colleague of mine asked if I had any good data on why women should not skip breakfast. So time-restricted eating has become all the rage. We often refer to it as fasting or intermittent fasting, but in reality, it is considered time-restricted eating. That's when you close the window in the day that you're consuming calories. It's become very popular to skip breakfast and begin eating middle of the day, and then maybe close your window around 6, 7, or even 8 p.m. And I think what we are now learning from the research is that while it can lead to weight loss to skip a meal, the meal that should be skipped is probably not the first one. And this does make sense from a diurnal pattern. So when we wake up in the morning, what's happening is our melatonin is coming down, our cortisol is coming up. And so when we wake up in the morning, our cortisol is at a certain level and then actually increases at the 30-minute mark. And then it starts to curve down for the remainder of the day until it gets at its lowest point in the evening when our melatonin starts to come up and tell us to go to sleep. So if we're thinking about this, cortisol is our activation hormone. It does increase stress if we have too much of it, but it's an activation hormone. And this is the time that our body is ready to go. We're ready to drive the car, is how I think about it. So when we put food in our body, we're actually putting gasoline in the car, and then we go use the car to drive somewhere, right? So ideally, we wake up in the morning, we eat some breakfast, we go move our bodies, we go out, maybe we're using our brains, we're going about our day. It doesn't make sense that that's the time we don't put fuel in the car, right? So if you're going to drive the car, you want to put the gas in. But what we're doing right now is we are skipping the meal in the morning when our body is most metabolically active. And this is very true for women, but we even see this in men because it's when their testosterone is the highest, their cortisol is the highest. And then we're eating into the evening. And this is the time where our bodies are slowing down. We're not producing as much of these activating hormones. In fact, our metabolism is slowing and our melatonin is increasing so we can sleep. So it's been argued that maybe lunch is the right meal to skip. Maybe you just close your window earlier in the evening. So you stop eating at 5 p.m. or somewhere around there. Now that can be harder for some people because they want to eat later in the evening for social reasons, or they want a snack. But in reality, skipping breakfast, we now know based on recent studies, actually increases the stress response significantly. Now, think about this in two ways. If you're asking your body to function, but you're not actually putting fuel in it, that can cause extra stress. So we see the cortisol levels rise too high. But often what we're doing is drinking coffee, which is suppressing the appetite, which is increasing cortisol and our glucocorticoids. And then we're not eating. So we're actually setting ourselves up for a crash later in the day because we're taking all the money out of the savings account and there's no money left by the time we get to lunch. The recent studies actually show that we have a secondary cortisol spike in the afternoon around lunch because we've stressed the body so significantly. Now, I do want to say and reiterate, if a person is overeating and consuming too many calories through the day, yes, they may see weight loss by skipping breakfast. That has been shown to happen. However, for long-term maintenance, we actually are seeing negative effects on the body, and they are showing higher risk of cardiometabolic diseases if you're skipping breakfast long-term. So I challenge you to rethink this a little bit and consider consuming a blood sugar balancing breakfast, which you will see listed in the newsletter this week, and see how it feels to consume breakfast within maybe 2 hours of waking up, and then end your eating window earlier in the evening and see how your sleep is impacted, see how your energy is impacted. I do want to make a note. Not everybody feels great finishing their last meal at 5 p.m. Some people don't manage their blood sugar overnight if they stop eating too early. So nutrition is personal. It depends on how you use your body. It depends on your genetics. It depends on what you're eating, when you're eating it. But we do know now that it is likely safer to close that window earlier in the day, but eat your first meal earlier so you're not putting your body into undue stress. So just remember, put gasoline in your car before you drive it. You're going to go further and you'll go further longer. Okay. Have a great evening.